Hello, everybody. Welcome to Let's Make a Game, Episode 2. Um, Today, you might notice me go a little bit slower, but it'll be a little bit faster and a little bit slower compared to what we did last time. I have a second monitor hooked up. So I can also now look to my other monitor in order to quickly see chat, which should hopefully work a lot better for us. With that all said, though, let's get into today's episode. Our entire goal today is to finish what we started last session, which was 2 days ago. Now, as much as I had said last episode, I did not know how often these videos were going to come out. I was planning on trying to do one every day until I had some kind of big pause, at least until we got out of pre-production. Meaning there would be 3 episodes in pre-production, as this is episode 2, and possibly a couple of episodes of alpha just showing the process of making a game. However, I had some stuff come up yesterday, and I was unable to live stream. I also now have a server hooked up in my house, meaning internet quality may drop a little, and if that's to happen, I actually decided to change up some settings, and we're just going to hope for the best, and hope this all works out. Hopefully the music isn't too loud. If it is, I can attempt turning it down a little bit more. Um, I just hope you're ready to begin this adventure and dive number 2, and let's get started. So, from last episode, we got to here. We added a player controller that can move around, can jump, and you can see some points. You can see your round, you can see your ammunition at the bottom, and you can see your health. Just a very simple HUD created, honestly, in just a few minutes, if I remember right. And, simple player controller. Though, we had also used last episode to actually plan out our idea. So for those who did not watch the last episode, or are wanting to kind of jump ahead in the series, I fully get that. Let's just look over our game design document that we created. This was the document that was going to as a first-person shooter, and that is the genre, but that's also why we made the specific character model we did, where we can actually see our model, but we control everything. Alright. We are using Call of Duty Zombies as a base point, though we are going to be adding some stuff that might be custom, changing things. We listed out the main mechanics we would need. I put down some possible systems that I could cover if enough people want me to. And then we broke down our features into an A tier list, a B tier list, and a C tier list. Now for this prototype, we want everything that's here, or at least a good part of it. What I recommend personally for a prototype would be these, are basically items of our core gameplay loop. If I do that, it'll better split. The save system, main menu, and music systems, while important, do not need to be there to prove that our game will work. And your entire idea behind this type of prototype we're doing, our first prototype, is to prove the game is working. If you want to look at this from a business standpoint, this would be what you initially pitch to investors. If you're looking at this from an indie standpoint, this is just you being able to gauge if the idea is even fun. It might not look nice, But looks are about half of the battle. The other half is your gameplay loop. So, with that being mentioned, what should we do next? Well, first we're going to result back to our book here. So we have our first-person character controller, which is what we did. We have all of our movement in, minus sprinting. Sprinting is an important thing. And you know what? We're not going to do a stamina system, but let's just implement sprinting real quick. So, just like what we did last time, we're going to come over here. We'll just grab our jump key and duplicate that. The jump key will not need to change it. Oh, I also wanted to let you all know that I learned how to get the controller keybinds working. You might notice it says generic USB controller access 5 and 6. This is because I personally am using a PlayStation 5 controller. If you have an Xbox remote, the way that I had it set up in the last video would actually work perfectly. And it's what you should use. I had just deleted them here, mainly for myself to be able to, well, better understand what I was doing. So in here, we're going to add a new mapping. For sprint, we're just going to add left shift as our sprint key. And we'll worry about gamepad later. Because I have my controller a little too far away for me to go grab right now. So we'll do that. We will save. And then we'll go into our, not our code base, but our blueprints. Our player, our first person player. And we'll just do this under our jump. We'll do IA_sprint. And on here, we're going to want to pull off of started. So when we start sprinting, we're going to do something, which instead of dragging off, we're just going to grab our player movement, set max walk speed. In Unreal Engine, the base max walk speed is 600. From what I've heard, this is about 6 meters per second. It's 6 Unreal units per second. So let's just for now double your speed. Let's say you go twice as fast whenever you're moving. So you're going to have that much, and we're going to do that when started. Then on either canceled or completed, this is as a failsafe, we'll set this back to 600. Now, if we wanted something a little better, what you really should do is promote to a variable and call this sprint speed. Promote to variable. That way, it's just easier when we're converting it into code, and also means it's no longer hard-coded. We can just change these two variables to change what our sprint speed and walk speed is. Say you add in something like a pickup of some kind. You know what? I said that. Let's add that over here to, it'll be a B feature that we need. Item pickups. I will admit, even when planning, unless I take like a day to plan, I'm personally not that good at it. And by that, I legitimately just mean that I will forget stuff. Let's go ahead and save though. And now, if we go in here, we can tell our normal walk speed. We press and hold shift, you see that we're going faster. You can tell by the ground looking like it's moving faster. We let go, and we slow back down. You could add something like a stamina system into this, but for now, we're not going to do that. We're not going to add a stamina system. Purely because I just don't think it fits this game mode well. This is more of an arcadey type game. While yes, it could be seen more in the realistic genre, I personally think it would just be fun not to have a stamina system. So the next thing we need to do is to create our gun. So we're going to go back out here into our blueprints. We're going to make a new folder and call this weapons. Let's make a new blueprint class. We're going to make this an actor. So, for those who might have missed my last video, actors are going to be your base entity in a game. A gun is just an item that's going to be shown, and it's going to basically determine how we're going to shoot stuff. That's about all it's going to be used for. So, we're going to create this. We'll call it BP underscore base gun. And there's a reason why we're going to call this base gun. Because this gun doesn't exist at all. So, in here, what we're going to do is we're going to add some variables. We're going to add an is shooting. This variable will be used for every time the player pulls the trigger, metaphorically. This will be set to true, so that way you can't just rapidly click to constantly fire. Unless you want to have an automatic gun, but we're going to be playing by the laws of physics here. So you cannot fire your gun in 0.00001 seconds. You're just not able to do that. We're going to add another one. So this is actually, before I add this is where you can make a choice. And I'm making a choice here. The choice is, you can either make a gun that fires some kind of a raycast to a target, or you can make a gun that fires a physical projectile at a target. Both of these are fine strategies. So you might be wondering, why should I choose? Well, we're making an FPS game. First-person shooter. For the most part, it's best to not have to have bullet physics in these types of games. And so you want to use a line cast method, which is a method we will be using. If you were making another type of game, though, like, say, a tank simulation, like War Thunder, or the simulation games like World of Warships, where there are physical bullets firing, and you can watch them fly through the air. They're traveling hundreds of feet, hundreds of meters away, that kind of thing. Well, then you might want to look into using a physics-based bullet. But that will not be within our scope unless we do grenades, which we probably will, so stay tuned for that. So that means for our guns, we're also going to need our damage, how much damage each quote-unquote shot does, and we'll make this an integer for ease. We have our reload time in seconds. You could just call this reload time. Really, naming is all for you, and I'm going to try to name things so that they're easy to understand what they are. So reload time in seconds, just how long it takes to reload your gun. And then we're going to add something which we'll call our, let's call it our gun index. You'll understand this later, and we're going to make this a byte. So, a byte, never really covered these. A byte is a number between 0 and 255, if I am remembering correctly. It's either 255 or 256. We're using it because this number will never be greater than 4. And whenever you're programming something, you always want to have the lowest amount of space possible. If you're just needing a true or false, use a bool, which is yes or no, instead of using an integer that could be 0 or 1. Otherwise, you're going to have things like Google Chrome, and you're going to be eating people's memory whenever one tab is open and be using 15 gigabytes of RAM for some reason. Really, Google, look into it. Yep, our gun index, which this will basically just determine if this weapon is a primary weapon, think your rifles, your shotguns. A secondary weapon, like your pistols. We could even use this for grenades and knives or melee weapons. But that right there is going to be some stuff. We're also going to need a range, which we're going to make a float. Gotta find it. And that should be everything we need for this gun. Now, this is going to be an important part, and to show how important it is, I'm going to bring up paint.net. Yep, we're bringing out a paint tool of some kind. We'll just grab a paintbrush, make this bigger, make sure I can draw. Cool. So, what I wanted to cover is how to teach you all how to make a game where even if you're not following along, you can understand some of the processes behind it. And so we're going to actually figure out how would we code this system? How would we code a gun? Now, I did give some tips earlier, so we're going to have our player here. They are going to have some kind of child object, which is going to be their gun. Let's just make it like that. Okay. Then, obviously, we're going to have some kind of, enemy. And the two ways we can do it, it's either one, whenever the player clicks, we're going to have a ray cast to the enemy and immediately damage the enemy. Or, we could have the player with their gun and the enemy over here. The gun launches some kind of sphere that moves to the enemy, and when it collides, it deals damage. Now, as I've already said myself, I personally think it's going to be best to... I don't know why my toolbar on the side disappeared. It just did one day. It would probably be best not to use this method. It would be best to use a raycast method. So that's why we actually have our variables made. We have this range. I am bad at drawing with a mouse, obviously. The damage is how much damage this gun does to this enemy. Our reload time is how often you can shoot the gun. And all of that. So let's just delete all of this. And we're going to figure out, we know which way we want to go about it. So the first thing we would probably want to do is, how do you draw a line from A to B? That would be the first question you would ask. Well, as I kind of mentioned before, always look into the Unreal Engine. What we actually can use is not draw a line. I think is it called Raycast? Yep, Ray Trace by Channel is what we're going to look for. This right here will draw a line from A to B. Or in this case, whoops. Let me just pull that back up. Or in this case, from our start, which is our point A, and our end, which is point B. Now, for now, let's create a custom event. These are functions, and I'm saying it this way because we will be going into C++ today, hopefully. So, a custom event is a function. We're going to call this our fire gun function. And when we fire gun, we want to do a line trace by channel. Now, let's go back to our viewport for a minute. Right now, all our gun is this default scene. What we need, though, is a static mesh. And we're going to call this gun model. Over here, if we drop this down, just for testing purposes, I'm going to type in box, and it's not that. Oh, it might be cube that I'm thinking of. Yeah. We're going to get a basic cube. This cube will let us very easily just kind of show us our gun. That's really all it's for. Now, another thing I'm going to actually add is going to be another mesh. And we're going to call this gun point. Technically, this doesn't have to be a mesh. I'm just using it as a mesh that's going to be empty. And we're going to put that right there. Which we're going to say that that's the front of our gun. And for just so we can 0.1. Well, 0.1, 0.1, 0.1. Now, what is this for? Well, we grab our gun point, we're going to get our get world location, there it is. So we're going to get the location in the world that the gun is, or that the gun point is, which is going to be our start of our line trace. Then what we're going to do, we're going to pull this down and do a multiply. And we're going to switch this to a float. This will be our range. It's not actually a multiply. I think it might be a plus we want to use here. Yeah. You're going to add your range. That's what it is. You add your range to this value. And that is your endpoint. However, there's going to be a problem with this. It adds your range to the entirety of the value. So let's break this connection with Alt-click and split this. Let's add in the X and the Y, but not the Z. So as of right now, you're not going to be able to really shoot up or down. You can only shoot straight across. Would it be better to do it this way when we have up and down? Yeah. And we'll actually try that first. Might actually just be better to do it that way, because we will need to aim up and down. Life of a game developer. So back over here, something we're going to do is under draw type, we're going to put for duration. This will allow us to actually see if, when this function is called, does the gun fire? Which is exactly what we need to know. And so, let's come back over here to our first-person player. Hello, John. I decided to call this man John. Over here, we're going to add a child actor. And we'll call this our gun actor. Normally, you would add a socket here, but we do not have one. So, because we don't have any animations, we're just going to drag this to about where the gun should be. Then, for our child class, we're going to add BP underscore base gun. And we're going to notice it's way too big. So we're just going to do something like that. Compile. And we're going to now need to add in our controls. So we go input actions. We will duplicate our sprint action. and add a shoot. Back over here, we can add a new mapping. Add our shoot. And bind that to left mouse button. Now, what we can do is in our event graph, we do IA underscore shoot. This we only want to happen when you first press the button. Yep, sorry guys, we're not going to be doing automatic guns. At least not as of right now. If that's something people want to see in the future, we can go about it. Now, what we need to do is when we press shoot, we need to call this function. How do we do that? Well, Unreal makes it easy. That child actor, we can drag off of it, get our child actor, which will return an actor. Now we've got to do something called casting. We're going to cast do BP base guns. We'll never have to change this, and you'll understand why soon enough. With this, we now have access to everything in here. Meaning, we can just do as our base gun, we can do fire gun. Compile. We go into our game. And we're going to click. And nothing is happening. Well, this is where we need to do debugging. First of all, making sure that this is happening. We're going to do a print string bang bang. That's the noises a gun makes, right, chat? It's a simple bang bang. Okay. It looks like it's being called. That means this isn't working. Well, it's most likely this. Before anything, let's go back to that multiply that I tried doing earlier, that I said was definitely wrong. Guys, correction. We're going to go back to the plus, what we had a second ago. And I'm going to remember, this is an issue that you can sometimes run into. I'm kind of glad I ran into it here. Nothing was happening because I forgot to add a range. So, give me a random number in chat. What number should I put in here? Anyone has any numbers they want to throw out? If I don't see anything in a few minutes, I'll just add in 800. $200,000. Well, we could do 200,000. I guess you're going to be shooting North Korea with that one. Let's do it. 200,000. And there we can see our line being shot. And it looks like we're going straight up. Kind of the fear that I had, which is why over here, we're going to break this. We're going to split this and only do the X and the Y. I did not mean to do that. Okay. So with that, no matter how we aim, it's firing, but we're getting an interesting thing. It's all going straight that way, and it's not taking in the rotation of the player. I did this on purpose, believe it or not. Back over here, when we do this stuff, we're also going to want to if I remember right, it's specifically the endpoint that you want to times by the forward vector. I might be misremembering, but let's try it. And just like that, we can see that our line traces are happening. Now, has anyone noticed something weird about this gun yet? If no one's noticed something weird, well, one, obviously, it's coming from our actual gun model, as we programmed it to. Meaning, oh, whoops, it's coming from way over here, because we don't have any animations. So, let's make this unrealistic, and kind of put this in our chest real quick. Now, you'll notice that we kind of get caught, and we can't move properly anymore. That was unexpected, but that's just because we need to go into here, find overlap all dynamic. Oh, is the music not being picked up? Hold on. Oh, it looks like, yeah, it's not being picked. There. Can you hear it now? I actually did have music on in the background. I think my sensitivity, it just got so quiet the sensitivity wasn't picking it up anymore. Yep, sorry about that. With adding that though, you see there's where our gun is. And when we shoot from kind of the middle of our character. We can shoot all around us. But, well, lines are fun and all, but they're just lines. So how can we fix this? Well, first of all, we're done with this. We don't need to see those lines anymore, and we don't need to do bang anymore. Instead, we need this. So we're going to split this and let everyone get overwhelmed by the amount of things that come out. The only thing we need is this, our hit actor. On here, well, we're actually going to have to come back to that because it's time to do something else that we need. We're going to come back into the blueprints, create a new folder, and call it enemies. We're going to make this time a pawn, or actually, we need them to be able to move around, so we're going to make a character. We're going to make a character and call this BP underscore base zombie. Just for now, we're going to add in that. We're going to do the -90, 90, whoops, -90, -90 to get just a basic pawn in here. And we're going to add in the BP underscore health component that we had before. Their max health is going to be 5. Just for kind of temporary things. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add a take damage function to them. So when take damage happens, ooh, it looks like we forgot something in the last video. That's okay, we're always learning. Oh, that's right, because you can't do that. What we actually need to do is first we need to add a function here called take damage, which is going to have an input of amount of damage amount, something like that. And from how we're doing our system, if we look over here, our damage is an integer, so we want to take in an integer. Then what we're going to do is set current health to our current health minus the amount of damage we're taking in. We're going to do a clamp. Our max is just our max health. This is just to be safe. Our minimum is 0. You don't want to go into negative health, because that's how you can get God mode scenarios if you're not careful. And we're going to set our health like that. And, here's where we're going to call take damage. Let's actually rename this one instead of take damage to just damage handle. Just had conflicting names, because conflicting names are the worst. One of the worst things you can do. One of the easiest ways to accidentally get yourself confused, like I was getting myself confused. So on our take damage, for now, we're just going to do a print string get current health. We're just going to print our current health. Then over in the base gun, on our out hit actor, we're going to cast to BP base zombie. If this is the zombie, we're going to get the health component. And we're going to call damage handle. And the amount of damage we wish to do is our damage integer here. Now, we're going to say that our gun does 1 damage. Stream buffers occasionally. Yeah, I know. That isn't something I can fix. That is due to internet issues. And I wish I could fix that, actually. Yeah. I can actually, I'm watching the stream kind of buffer in real time as well. It's kind of like how I'm actually technically chat is a little bit behind. That's why I give such long periods if I actually ask a question. And it's funny, because right now it actually says the connection is excellent. I'm curious if I can do something like, if I go over here, can I just do that while I'm live? We're gonna see if that might fix it. I'm doubtful, personally. I just went and edited some stream settings. So we're going to put this back on to for duration. And as we can see, It looks like the reason why we can't shoot our guy is because the line is going straight through him. That's, you know, obviously not ideal. And I actually know exactly why that's happening, thinking about it for a second. I'm pretty sure. If I turn this back on to block all. We apparently have to walk backwards. I actually gotta try to remember. I don't use line traces that much, personally. No collision. Over here, no collision. Instead of overlap all, just give them no collision. Well, what we actually want to do here, we can hopefully simplify this by saying if true. So only do this if this is true. And false, we're going to print string no hit. Well, clearly it's hitting something, because it looks like it's always hitting the terrain. Let's just, you know what, change that to block all instead of pollen. And now we can see that it actually is hitting. Four, 3, 2, 1, 0. So, over here, we're going to do an if. If true, we're instead going to call die. And over here, we're going to get die. On die, we're going to call it destroy actor. Very simple. What's the green line? I just looked over to see chat. So the green line is actually a debugging tool. So the green line is everything past that line showing you the rest of the range before the hit. So it hits the item, the green line is everywhere else it would have gone. Or everywhere that that line is, that object is, block it. That's what the green line is. So we have 3 health left, 2 health left, 1 health left, and it's dead. And as you can see, I can now shoot, and there's still nothing there. And so we now have a working death system for our enemies. But, and oh yeah, we can also go real quickly into our base gun. And just, visibility, or not visibility, for duration back to none. That way I can just, pop, 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 pop. And you don't see the line anymore. Because you should really never see that line. We're only going to enable that when we're needing to do some kind of testing while we don't have animations. So then, you might be wondering next, okay, well, the enemy's cool and all, but can we get them moving? I mean, I know at least someone in the chat's gotta be thinking that, right? So let's add some movement to our little boy here. The first thing you're going to need is to go under volumes and add a nav mesh bounds volume. And this will basically define the area in which the AI can actually move. Let's just get, you know, a small area. And I'm going to add a new folder here, and we're going to call this AI behavior. Because it's always good to stay sorted. In here, we're going to go to artificial intelligence. Yep, I'm not covering animations until a later video. So under here, we're going to create a, I want to say it's a behavior tree first. So we're going to add a BT underscore basic. Yep, and we're also going to add a new blackboard, which will be BB underscore basic. In our blackboard that we just created, we're going to add a new key, which will be an object. We're going to call it the target player. This will be important, especially later on if we do add multiplayer. Just in case everyone is curious, the blackboard and the keys in them, think of it like your own memory. This is what the AI can remember. It's the variables they can save and reference at any time they can update with the game. So in this case, the target player in their blackboard, it's the player that they're able to see and remember when they're doing different actions. So we're going to go ahead and save. And now we have our behavior tree. This is one of the most complicated things that you can cover in Unreal Engine. Unfortunately, we don't have 17 lectures to go through for this. So we're going to keep it a little bit more on the simple side. We're going to use two selectors to determine stuff. A selector will have, it starts from the left to the right, and it reads each event that it can do in order. And even if an event, it basically does the first event, or actually we're just going to do one selector. Why is this not connected? We have a selector here. This right here is going to be, if I can name it, this is going to be, oh, there's the name. This is going to be our state. This is going to determine if we are in one of two. We'll do a sequence. Over here is going to be a row. And over here is going to be a chase. Now, if you wanted to do a pure COD Zombie style game, instead of roam and chase, you're going to randomize which player. They're basically just going to have a chase sequence, and only a chase sequence. I'm doing roam and chase just so you all can see how this stuff works. And under chase, we're going to add a decorator, which is our blackboard. And on result change, it's going to abort itself. And we're going to see if target player is set. Then over here on roam, well, you see, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to click new task, because there is no randomly move node. And the amount of times I've had to recreate this, I don't know why I forgot there is random moves. In here, what you're going to want to do is under functions, you're going to drop down this override menu and click receive execute AI. This is your starting point for your AI. And we're going to call AI move 2. Break this link. Our pawn is our pawn here. Acceptable radius will be 5. That's fine. And for our destination, it's get point in... Get random reachable point in radius. Our origin is going to be get world. Get world. Location. I keep trying to do position instead of location. So we're going to get the actor's location and say in a radius of 600. On success, we're going to finish execute, and success equals true. On fail, we're going to finish execute, and success is false, because we didn't succeed. We're going to compile. We'll go back over here, and in our roam sequence, we're going to do random move. Let's save. Click play. And see that it doesn't work. It doesn't work because we didn't tell it to work. So in here, what we need to do is on begin play, run, start, oh, I think not that, is it under, don't you hate it whenever you just forget something in the middle of a tutorial? What we want to do is we want to set the controller on here. And the controller is the one that I'm pretty sure we have to create. Yeah. AI controller class. And I forgot it because you have to go to all classes and type in AI controller. Select. We'll call this BP underscore basic AI control. In here on begin play, run behavior tree, and we're going to do BT basic. In our base zombie, here, we're going to do BP underscore basic AI control. You can find the AI controller really just by looking up control, going under pawn, and then dropping it down there. Otherwise, you'll actually have to, you know, scroll through this mess of stuff. And it's going to be... Actually, it might be under here. Whoop. Either way, it's not actually under player movement. It's under here, and you just have to scroll and find it. I just recommend using the search. I really do. And now if we click play, we can see that very fast they're moving. But, of course, they can't see us. They are just kind of a moving target at this point. And while that's scary, they're not a threat at all to us. So let's make this a little bit more interesting. We're going to add pawn sensing to the mix. And we're going to add an on-C pawn. Now, here's where, if you want to stay true to the original game that we're doing, you wouldn't actually do any of this AI controller stuff. I more just showed that so that you would know how to do it. Instead, you could do on this pawn sensing, get our pawn, cast to FPS player, and if it is true, do an AI move to, the pawn is self, and our target actor is this, our FPS player. And now, you'll see they're chasing us. This would really be all you would actually need. You wouldn't need the behavior tree if you're wanting to copy this. If you want to use the behavior tree, however, to have a roam, just in case you're not trying to make a Call of Duty Zombies ripoff, what we can do is not do this, but instead get our blackboard from our get controller. So target player exactly how we typed it. Now we go back to our basic, well, first let's just, rehook in our behavior tree, because I disconnected that. And for chase, we're going to just do move to, I'm going to save, and we actually have this issue. So, this is just because we cannot use this move to. You would think that we could, but we can't. We gotta make a new task. Call it BTT underscore move to player. receive, execute. AI move to. Our pawn is our controlled pawn. And we're going to get blackboard. Get value as object. Just gonna cast it to an actor. And for our key name, we promote that to a variable, and it's target player. And we're going to have an issue. Well, the selectors will always go left to right. So no matter what, it would always choose the roam selector. And now we're going to see it freeze up. And that's because this move to never calls finish. Finish execute with success. You know what? Even on fail, we're just going to finish with a success. Now we're going to try to get them to see us. Oh. They see us. They succeeded. And they broke. That's actually kind of funny. See, there's better ways to do this. I personally actually don't like AI trees that much. So what we'll do, we'll just break this node, and we're going to save this for another day. We're just going to mass undo. I can't mass undo over here. Just do a AI move to target actor and get self. We're going to go back to the simple approach that removes our roam. And because I did the mass undos, that actually brought itself back. I'm kind of curious. Once they are, yeah. See, the good thing about this version is they will always chase you no matter what. But of course, you can kill them, which is important. Now, we'll make this an int. We'll compile. How many points should this zombie be worth? I'll let you guys in chat answer. That is a lot of zero. Wait. Okay, only because you were not here for the last one, I actually gotta tell you, we actually have a 5-digit limit on our score counter. And I did that on purpose. So, we'll just say 100 points. We'll say 100. Don't know why I minimized that, because I actually still need it. So, on die, we do destroy actor. However, there's actually a little bit that we can do. A little bit more. So, over here, we're going to do get game instance. Then, we're going to cast to game BPI FPS game manager. I forgot what I named it at first. Now, as our game manager, we're going to set current points equal to current points plus our point value. Actually, before I do this, correction, I just remembered something we did last episode. We added a function called add points that did exactly what I was about to say. Our number of points are our point value. And we do it like that. Now, we get chased by the monster that we have created. We kill them, and our points don't update. Ah, I think I know why. It is because something we actually had done before with our UI. Our UI actually has to call specifically to update. If we go back to our content, our UI, and over here, we actually have to call this setGameText function from our UI, which can only be done from our player. Well, in here what we could do is get player pawn at index 0, cast to FPS player, and then as this, we're just going to get UI, get main HUD, and then we call setGameText. And now you can see up there, the 100, we get 100 points. Although, let's say we wanted to make this multiplayer, because everyone wants to make this multiplayer. This right here will always only do the first player. How can we fix that? Get players. If we get our current players, we can't do that. And you would do it this way. All because we're actually keeping track of how many players are in the game. Apparently, past George was a smart George and knew what he wanted to show you guys today. So we can go ahead and save. And we can just test to make sure that this is still working as intended. Yep. It still dies, and we get 100 points. Now, you all might have noticed that when I made the zombie, I called them Base Zombie. Well, that's because, if I find my blueprints again, and we have Base Gun. You can actually right-click on them, create a child blueprint, and call this something like BP_improved zombie. Let's put our improved zombie over here. Let's say that our improved zombie, you go up here to your settings bar and click show inherited variables. That way you can actually still see the point value. Let's say our improved zombie is worth 500 points. Under their character movement, max walk speed is, say, 800 instead of 600. And for now, because we don't have attacks implemented for them, that's all we can change. So there we got 100 points. We come over here, we get seen by them. You would see they actually are able to catch up to us. Though if we get out of their eyesight, they just kind of break. This is one of the reasons why you would use, like, AI trees. This is something we'll explore in another episode. And if I know that we need ammo, so we're going to have cur ammo in clip. Max ammo. These are going to be 2 integers. And just every time we do this, we can say cur ammo minus not equals minus minus. And over here, when we first enter, we just do an if. Current ammo is greater than 0. We let ourselves to fire. All coding really is simple logics like this. As long as you know what your bases you're trying to find are, you can code it out pretty easily. I might as well ask, how bad is the stream buffering again? 'Cause I'm noticing it seems to be behind. It's like behind, I almost want to say, oh. We got disconnected for a minute. I am so sorry, everybody. Honestly, episode 3 might become a not live version of this, where it'll still be about as long and still in this format, but not be live, just so it's in a better quality for you guys. We're gonna deal with reloading later, but let's go to our ammo, and let's say our max ammo is 250. And our current rounds are 10. We will go ahead and compile this. Yeah. It might be better if I take tomorrow to just record one of these videos and then upload it instead. Just so that way it can be better for you guys to learn. Because that's really what I'm here to do, is to try and teach. Am I a good teacher? Probably not that great. But do I think that you all will learn something? I hope so. We're going to print a string under a false and just yell, out of ammo. We compile. 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now if I click, we get the out of ammo warning. But of course, that's not actually updating to our ammo text. Well, this is actually really simple. We call our shoot over here. So what we can then do is get actually, what we want to do is, I think it's over here. Do I set? I do not. So yeah, we're going to add a new function, which is set ammo. Current. And we're going to add an input, which is cur ammo. And that's going to be an integer. We're going to come down here and find our cur ammo text. And we're going to set our text equal to that. We compile. We go over here. We get our main HUD. Set ammo current. Get current ammo in clip. And we plug in the needed variables. You may also notice that the way I name stuff has no spaces, but there's actually spaces in here. That's because Unreal Engine actually knows how to separate things pretty well to make it easier for your own readability. Like main HUD, it's because I'm doing it in not camel case, but Pascal case, I think is what it's called. Basically, every letter is uppercase for each new word. It actually knows to separate that out, which is pretty smart. So now, when I fire the gun, you'll see 10. And it actually stopped updating for a second for some reason. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And we can see that it has 0 ammo. They're pretty well organized. Oh, trust me, they are not well organized. These are actually not me going through and organizing them. I'm trying to be more concise than anything. And I'm not worrying about them too much because we'll be converting all of this into Blueprint later. Or not Blueprint, but into C++. Like, this right here is a mess. I could go move that there. We're going to drop that down. This one goes there, this one goes there. This goes up here. And make that just look a little tiny bit more cleaner. That's kind of what I tried doing down here. Don't know why I did that. One second. Let me just double check something. That's what it is. So that it just looks a little bit nicer. That's what I was checking real quick, was how to align stuff. But in order to achieve our goal for tonight, which is in the end to finish the quote-unquote demo, our prototype stage, at least for a very basic game loop, the next thing we would want to add is the zombie being able to actually attack us. And with that, I actually personally use a pretty simple way. We're just going to get a box collision and call this the hurt box. We're going to move that forward a little. And you got to click on this check mark. Simulation generates hit events. And on component hit, other actor, we're going to cast to FPS player. If it is them, we're going to get their health component, not health percentage. Get health component. Damage handle. And then actually integer's fine. And we'll make them do 1 damage to the player. Only to prove that this is working. Print to say hit in all caps. Yep. That means this over here is always failing. Well, what we do, add a thing here. And we say that that is never even calling. Oh, there's a mega buffer going on. You know what? Let's, instead of doing a hit, let's do overlap. We're gonna swap that. And already, because it overlaps with something automatically, it's going to yell at us. So let's just turn that off. And we can see now it's yelling hit. And we can see our health bar down there going down. Obviously, 1's a little too low, so let's just say, because I think I gave the player 100 health, let's say 10. By default. We can now confirm that we're getting hit. Yeah, I'm seeing the comments about the mega buffering. Sadly, this might actually just be my internet telling me I need to stop. And so, as much as I wanted to try to add just a little bit more today, I think this is where we will stop for today's session. We have we've got a pretty good foundations of a game. Don't have everything we needed for our prototype to be classified as finished. Remember, in order for us to classify our prototype as finished, over here, we need to have, in my opinion, the FPS controller, which we have, the gun, which we have, the zombie AI, which we have a basic version of, the currency, which is the point system right now. Which basically is actually finished. We can gain points, we can't spend them, but what would be left is doorways. And you know, just to kind of throw it in, I'll let the viewers decide. Do we do the doorways within this massive amounts of buffering that's happening? Or do I save it for one final video where I can cover the doorways as well as better cover AI trees after I have like a good look at figuring out what was going on? Or if there's something else you all would like to see throughout this buffer or coming up, please let me know now. I'm going to mute my mic and wait for any chats to go on. I am reading chat. This is just the amount of delay in the stream, which is honestly why I think next time I might just have to do a pre-recorded and use our comment section as the chat to help make this. I thought it would be cooler to do this all live, personally, because that way, if there's any questions, even if there's just one or two people watching at all times, I can answer questions without having to go into the comments and be like, oh yeah, that's a great question, I'll cover that next video. It's helpful, but it's also just like, I don't know. It just doesn't feel right to me. Though, I do want to finish this tutorial series, and if my internet does not let me do it completely live, I'll do parts of it live. I'm probably going to also, after the prototype is done, make a little, like, maximum 30-minute video that is just a recap of everything happening in this first and second live stream. And the third one, you know, just kind of putting it all into one place, but a lot more condensed with a lot less information explaining everything. But if there's not anything specific anyone would like to see, then I do think I'll go ahead and end the stream here, and I really want to thank you all for watching. As much as, because I've been looking over, I think my peak viewer count was 3 on this live stream. But it really does mean a lot to me. Having more than 0 people watch is something. And hopefully, even if it was just a tiny bit, you learned something out of this. Because that's, in the end, what I want. I want for everyone to be able to learn. And I really want the game development industry to have another blow in good quality games. Not because companies are making them, but because people who want to make video games and have the resources available to them to be able to do what they want to do. Yeah, there's a lot of tutorials out there. Like, back when I started my journey, I went to Brackeys, really big YouTuber, just came back to do Godot. They are great for Unity tutorials. There's a couple of sources I have. I can't pronounce them, so I'm not going to embarrass myself by saying them.